The Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, who is also second Vice Chairman of the NRM, His Lordship the Chief Justice, His Excellency the Vice President of Kenya, who has visited us here, all the other visiting delegations, the cultural leaders, the religious leaders, the Vice Chairperson of the NRM, Achigongo, all the other leaders, and the Wananchi, the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, and all the Wananchi who are here. Muri bulungi. Hamujambo. Greetings. I will make a short speech because the newspapers, the New Vision, and even the Monitor shocked itself by publishing the achievements of the NRM. When you hear a cow speaking, then you know that Jesus is about to come. When you hear the Monitor newspaper, when you see the Monitor newspaper publishing the achievements of the NRM, then you know that Jesus is about to come. Greetings and congratulations on the 63rd anniversary of Uganda's independence. Mwena mukulukeyo mefuga. Initially, the journey of Uganda's independence was not smooth. By the 10th anniversary would have was 1972. By the 10th anniversary, Uganda under a vicious dictatorship. And by the 20th anniversary, 1982, the small colonial enclave economy of the 3 Cs, the 3 Ts, which were coffee, cotton, and copper, and tobacco, tea, and tourism respectively, had collapsed. And Uganda was depending on magendo, smuggling, chivanda, forex black market, and kusamla speculation. In addition to the collapse of the economy, constitutional governance, democracy, and security of person and property had also collapsed. Indeed, between 1971 and 1986, an estimated 800,000 Ugandans were killed extrajudicially here in Uganda. there are 33 mass graves, each with more than 2,000 scars of Wanga. Singa mugenda mu Luweero Triangle, mugenda kusangayo ssatu buli emu erimu obuwanga byonna twabikuuma gye rescued Uganda. I am therefore to report to the Ugandans that by June 2026, the economy of Uganda will be USD dollars 66.9 billion in size, forex method, or US dollars 1 billion in the purchasing power method. This financial year, the economy will grow by 7%. After the flow of oil, the economy will grow by double digits. Bayinza kubalaga ku ntimbi amakolero agali wano kati oba entimbi zikola kubanga ezimu siziraba. Mutulage amakolero agali wano kati. Show us the factories. That is one of the factors that show us the overhead image of industrial parks. Okay, you can freeze the other one. Freeze it. Showing the industrial park from the air. You can see that's just one of the industrial parks. That is now the one of Mbaye. That's the one of Mbaye. And you can see all the factories are new. It is important to be minded that this economy was US dollars 3.9 billion in 1986. Since that time, I've told you before, we have gone through the following 5 phases. Phase 1, the minimum economic recovery of some of the 3 C's and the ending of the shortages, Ebola, of the so-called essential commodities. Phase 2, expansion of the economy, e.g., increasing the amount of coffee, increasing the amount of tea, and so on. Phase 3, diversification, taking on board new items from the list of the subsistence items to commercial production, such as milk, bananas, fruits, cassava, etc. Now, during the time of the colonial times, they would talk of cash crops as coffee and cotton and tea only, and tobacco. They didn't know that all our products were cash crops, like milk, like beef, bananas, cassava. If you can show us the dairy factories, search for the dairy factories, and when you get them, show them to us. Then phase 4, value addition to all the raw materials where the economics is right. And 5, the knowledge economy of science, technology, and innovation. First, show us the dairy factories, if you get them, and then get us the key. Okay, that's the dairy now. Now you can freeze that one. Now all those go back where all those are products of the dairy from your cows. During the time of the British, although we had cows here, but you would find that we would be importing milk, powdered milk, condensed milk, from Denmark, from Kenya, but now Uganda is one of the biggest producers of milk in the world, because we have got a lot of potential. Now, then phase 5 is the knowledge economy. Let the routine B show us the Kira motors. Show us the factory first, and then the vehicles last. Show us the factory. Those are your people fabricating electric vehicles, buses, cars, and other types. Those are all made here by your people, electric cars. Uganda, therefore, is unstable. tewaliwo agenda kwekiika mu kkubo lyaffe ery'enkulaakulana. We need constitution are two. The economic integration of East Africa to ensure a big market for the wealth creators of East Africa, and the political integration of East Africa, resulting into the political integration of East Africa that will deal with the strategic situation of East Africa and even Africa. Now, ekisigadde ekikulu kwe kuteesa n'Abaganda baffe Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Sudan, Congo, Somalia, okunyweza akatale ak'ekitundu kyaffe. The creators need to be sure of a big market. When we produce products, the market should be big enough to absorb all the products that are produced. But also, with East Africa, we are also working the common market of the whole of Africa. And we've already reached the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area. However, in East Africa, we discussed the issue of the political integration, leading to the creation of East Africa. And the reason for that is that we deal with the economy, with it. But how about the defense and security? We need a tighter organization to be able to defend ourselves against all the threats in the world. A federation of the East African states would create a center of gravity for the black race and would create a potential that defends East Africa against all and every threat. I believe we have capacity to be president in all spheres of strategic security in the air, sea, and in space. We are moving towards that. We need, however, to build some second approach. Kumemerera, kumamira, mu Luganda bakita kumamira, polo, in Luo, scattering resources, trying to be everywhere and being nowhere. We have moved well. In 1986, we had 1,000 kilometers of tarmac roads. We now have 6,208 kilometers of tarmac roads. However, because of the mistake of kumemerera, kumamira, some of the tarmac roads that were due to repair or construction were not attended to in time. Hence, you have some very good roads, the ones in Bunyoro, Lango, Karamuja, etc. However, you also have roads that have deteriorated because of delaying to rehabilitate or even reconstruct them. This kumamira put money in new districts, cities, suburbs, like the teachers who are striking, infrastructure, wealth creation, etc., scattering money thin over so many sectors and achieving the control across the board. That is why in 2006, I made a very firm stand, insisting on ensuring priorities among priorities. I insisted on putting more money on the roads and electricity. As the budget for the Ministry of Works from 370 shillings in 2005 to 1,200 by shillings 133 billion in 2005 to shillings 398 billion in 2010. That is how we're able to do so many roads, such as Orio Gulu, Kitugu, Sorotka, Barachaka, etc. So able to extend the usage to almost all the districts of Uganda. The current backlog of repair and reconstruction of a number of roads is on account of not maintaining prioritization among priorities. Omukusasanya sente za gavumenti si kirungi okumangira buli wantu kasente katono olina kuba bw'oteeka essira ebintu ebyetagisa essaawa eno tulina obiteeka ku essira ne tubimala ne biggwa si kusigala kitundu wano kitundu wali waffe bw'olima mu nnimiro olugezi n'otwala olubimbi lumu kuva wansi w'endimiro kutuuka ku mutwe n'oddayo n'olubimbi olulala naye katulima n'otuuka wakati ate n'oddayo n'otandika otandise eyo si nkola ya kiyeekera. Fabekera tutimbi ne tulumala ate ne tuddayo ne tutandika olubimbi olulala. Omwankwere bw'alaba olimako katono olubimbi ate n'oddayo n'otandika agamba nti ogwo nazaanira omusiri onazanya mu ndimiro oyo azanyira mu ndimiro. Fortunately for Uganda, our oil is about to start flowing. Banange Katonda ayagala NRM nnyo. Go to favor NRM with the special efforts. British for 68 years. And from 1920, they to look for the petroleum of Uganda, but they failed. They were looking for the petroleum because there were signs, seepages. In the middle of there, a place called Kibiro. Okubira, now with some. So you can see petroleum on the surface. Now the British tried to get the petroleum for almost 4 years, and they failed and they gave up. And they said maybe the petroleum was there, but it evaporated because of the volcanic activities. When NRM came, we discovered the petroleum. You show them where we are now. You feel that one now. That is one. There in the background You can see Lake Albert. Ito electrification tujeta mwitanzige ababisaka mwitanzige atukuliye nyuma ekyo kya blue ekyo, that's like the blue is like Albert. Now that's one of the rigs digging a well in the Rift Valley, and this oil will start flowing next year. Fortunately for Uganda, our oil is about to start flowing. That will enable us to do more work at the same time. Even with the oil money, however, my strong proposal is that we concentrate budgeting initially on defense, the roads, tarmac and maram, electricity, education, health, water for drinking and for irrigation, the railway, wealth creation, PDM, UEB, ghetto, fund, the science, innovation, like the Chira motors, like Magora. You show us Magora. Let's see Magora. The pharmaceutical, that's a huge facility supported by the government. Show us the overhead. That is a big facility initiated by one of our scientists, Magora, but supported heavily by the government. This is in Matuga here, just Matuga here. And that produces drugs for cancer, for AIDS, for malaria, for diabetes, all that. People here are able to treat diabetes, treat cancer, all those treatments are available here, and we can share them with the world. Some public servants, such as scientists, the judiciary, the etc. They go fast. We shall soon be able to cover more sectors. However, when you interfere with the above minimum areas of focus, you interfere with our economy's ability to grow. How will the economy be growing at 7% if I have not in 2006 insisted on prioritizing the roads? If I had not insisted on that in 2006, where would the electricity have come from? It is the more availability of electricity that is encouraging the rapid industrialization. So, in 2006, when I insisted, and we focused on roads and electricity, you see the results. All those factories are flocking here because of the electricity. There is enough electricity for now, but we need to expand the electricity supply. The Uganda Revenue Authority needs to solve the issue of revenue losses. They are still collecting only 13 to 14% of GDP in taxes. If they are collecting 20% of GDP taxes, GDP of 66.9 billion would be collecting about Uganda shillings 47 trillion in taxes. This would be a good level of government revenue. With the careful budgeting talked about above, and without the burden of paying debts that have the interest of Uganda shillings 11.3 trillion per year, would be quite comfortable, plus the robust growth we are already enjoying. The indiscipline in budgeting and revenue collection creates unnecessary distractions and delays our development tempo. With the discipline and the money, even without our oil, which will start flowing soon, our economy will hit the US dollars 500 billion in the coming years that we are targeting. As our economy has been growing, so has been our capacity to support the social services. These are education and health. Very good progress has been registered in those areas. In spite of the population of Uganda growing from 14 million in 1986 to 46 million in 2024, infant mortality rate has fallen from 119 deaths per year, live birth in the first year of life, to 28 deaths now. Life expectancy has gone from 43 years to 68 years. And the literacy rate has gone from 43% in 1986 to 80% today. With a bigger economy, the quality of our people's lives will continue to improve. One of the outcomes of the expanded education has been the growing number of our scientists and their innovations. Our scientists have made innovations in automobiles, pharmaceuticals, vaccines, electronics, etc. It is so pleasing. That is why correct and realistic budgeting is crucial. Finally, I need to salute the peace-loving Ugandans and the Uganda People's Defense Forces. Uganda Defense Forces. All that is happening first and foremost is the peace. This is lubricated by the long-standing NRM policy of reconciliation and forgiveness on top of our firm stand against right. Even today, I'm happy to welcome back into peaceful Uganda Samson Mande that had fled into exile on account of apparently some internal intrigue. While in exile, he engaged in some rebel activities. However, in Sweden, he agreed to connect himself to activities. They bring here to take him there. Take him there and there. You can pass here. Onombaja yadduka wano abadde yagezako okubona mbu alwanisa NRM naye abantu baffe bamutuukiridde bamuga ebyo biveeko. Yali muserikale waffe omunsiko ngenda kumubanyonyola oluvannyuma kasooke yeka. Okay, Monday, you can say some words.
Your Excellency, sir, Majene, leaders, representatives, ambassadors, and High Commissioner of Nations, the CDF, Kainerugaba, Mohozi, brothers and sisters of UPDF, I'm back home. Here in Uganda, I have two homes. The first home is Mantre. Nobody shall be surprised that I'm here. I'm in my home. The second home is the NRM. I'm a founder member here. Was by us, it is me, it will remain in me, until death puts us asunder. Somebody who has the Bible should read the 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I thought like a child. I behaved like a child. I acted like a child. But now I'm grown. And I know that the magnanimous heart of our leader, President Museveni, would accept my change of behavior. Thank you very much for accepting me back in my home. I'm home to stay. I'm home to contribute the development I have had, that I have seen. I went when I was better, but now I am better, and I'm loaded with solutions. I will not look in the past. I don't in the past. I am looking forward to national development. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Monday, take him and he sits down. Take him somewhere and he sits in the pavilion. Aisha, mumtwala ature. I remember Samson Monday, 1999, operating as a volunteer scout for the Task Force Division of the TPDF under Major General Cyrus Mayunga in Mbarara. I was commanding the and strong Foreigners fighting force. Did a good job as a commander of the 15th Battalion in the siege of Masaka in 1985. And he also did a good job in his subsequent assignments. We welcome him back. I wish all Ugandans a happy and successful end to 2025. A happy 2026. With God's blessings, we shall meet here again in 2026. Everybody,